Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday, and that means it's time for the Wrestling Inc. Monday Night Raw after show. And have we got a show for you? We've got new tag team #1 contenders. We're going to have new tag team #1 contenders next week as well. And we finally know who the fifth man is. But before we get into all of that, you got to introduce the crew. I'm Jack Farmer, being joined by the legendary Justin LaBar and the also legendary Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, how are you celebrating America's Thanksgiving week?
I'm celebrating by enjoying the Black Friday sales.
Now that is very American of you.
Mm-hmm. And just for that day, instead of regular bacon, I'm going to eat turkey bacon.
Oh, with any maple syrup. I feel like maple's on everything over there. But
well, pretty much.
Justin, on this week of giving thanks, I want to give thanks that, with our fantasy football teams, we don't like to compare records or if a team won or lost this week. I'm glad that I just want to give thanks that we don't talk about that, because my team took a hard loss.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Mine did too. Mahomes is just not putting up Mahomes kind of numbers. I got crap for my running backs.
Fortunately I had Burrow on my team, but fortunately I had Dak tucked away. But Dak didn't do enough this week to make up for the. I got spanked this week. I just gotta say it wasn't even close. It was a 30-point deficit, but. In any case, we're going to move on to some wrestling chat. For everyone who's with us, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Let us know what you're thankful for this time of year. Someone who I have a feeling is pretty darn thankful is Will Ospreay, who just signed a new contract with AEW. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer confirmed it was Barry Bloom who negotiated the contract, the same guy that did the Elite's contracts. Most of the specific details of Ospreay's deal remain unknown. It was noted that several major promotions were interested in signing Ospreay, including WWE and New Japan. However, there are several advantages to working with AEW, as Ospreay will be able to continue to work with New Japan shows due to the working relationships between AEW and them. Also, he'll be able to stay in England, much like Pac does, and still work with AEW. Also, it's noted that he likes Tony Khan. Justin, this is, as we find out some of these details, I think especially like being able to stay in England, I imagine was probably a huge bargaining chip for AEW.
Absolutely. I mean, that is where AEW can be more attractive in some respects, to the fact that they don't have the schedule that WWE does. They don't run 3 or 4 live events a week. And even with, there being Collision now, AEW seems to be trying to make some effort to kind of keep, an unofficial, unspoken separation of roster. So, you know what day you need to be in town for. So it is a lot easier, more, it's a lot easier to accommodate and more realistic to accommodate somebody flying in internationally a few times a month. I'm not surprised if it allows him to still, work with New Japan and foster what he's got built there. That makes sense. Obviously, that wouldn't be a case with WWE. But yeah, I think the living thing's a huge thing. The living thing is probably a huge thing. And I go back to somebody who is just firing all cylinders for WWE, who we'll talk about tonight. Once upon a time when Gunther had just come over and just started working in the NXT ranks for the Stanford-based promotion, he was still living internationally, and he did not want to have to relocate and live in the U.S. But obviously, that is since he's at least got a temporary residency here, and it's paying off. He's doing quite well. But that is a huge thing for guys and girls internationally. Is do they want to leave where they're from? And AEW and Tony Khan seems like they're going to allow him to have what he has, and also I'm sure he's going to get paid a pretty nice fee. So,
yeah, I have a feeling that. Will Ospreay is going to be wearing nicer shoes from now on, Jimmy. Now, you worked for WWE for a very long time. You've seen a lot of guys come and go. Does this surprise you that Will Ospreay chose AEW over WWE?
No, it doesn't surprise me in the sense for all those reasons that Justin just listed. But the major one, like he said, is the one that he's able to still reside in his native UK, as opposed to, the big thing back in the day when I was there, everybody kind of moved to Florida for several reasons. One, it got everybody sort of flying out of the same area, and it all tax reasons, the whole bit. But and also the climate was also very favorable for a lot of people too. But I think that's the biggest reason, though, is the fact that he doesn't have to relocate his family, and that's that's a huge thing, because you've heard people talk about who have, are from overseas that came over to the United States. Their family stayed there. They miss birthdays, you miss weddings, you miss anniversaries, you miss all kinds of stuff, especially with that WWE schedule. Because I've lived that schedule. So I know exactly what it's like. I've missed all those things myself. So that's probably the most attractive thing. And you also have to think too that he says he's friends with Tony Khan. I don't know if that's, for me, that's, okay. But anyways, that's not a big issue. The issue is, are they going to utilize him correctly? And maybe he's worried that in WWE, because there are several brands and there are a lot of superstars there who are really good, will he be featured there? I think there's more of a chance that he will fit in with that diehard AEW audience, as right now, at least, anyways.
Well, I think it's a good reminder that it's such a good thing that there are multiple options that can provide the way that AEW and a WWE can, because it does give him the option. I'm sure he probably got paid more because he was able to have those other options on the table as well. But also, for whatever, obviously we'll have to see how things pan out with this contract. But, it gives him an option to do something that he wants, to be able to stay in England, where if it was just a one game in town, he'd be stuck and he either take it or leave it. So I think I always say it's a good thing having these other options. I think it'll be fun to see what he can do. And I think, like many people, once that contract has run out, he's going to be worth a lot more money. And so good for everybody all across the board.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking, he's only, he's 30 years old. So, I mean, he's still, he's not old yet in the pro wrestling game. So you're right, Jack. I mean, he can put himself and get the most consistent exposure to an American audience that he's ever had. And depending on how that goes over the next couple of years, assuming he signed a 2 or 3 year deal, who knows? He might have more leverage to get more leverage in the negotiation game, both with AEW and if WWE still had interest.
True. Yes. 30 is, when I was younger, I thought, man, 30, that's so old. But now I realize, like, 30 is nothing in pro wrestling. I feel like, especially nowadays, when you look at guys like AJ Styles or Rey Mysterio or Randy Orton, whose name is going to come up later on today. Like, I mean, if he's 30, he still has potentially like 15 great years ahead of him. So
yeah, absolutely. And, as long as he keeps that sponge attitude, so to speak, you're always learning in this business. You're always evolving. You're always changing and trying to adapt. And as long as he keeps that attitude and saying, instead of, all us old guys are saying, a lot of the younger guys are thinking they know everything there is to know about that. You never know everything. You're always learning.
Absolutely. And so, speaking of things changing, there is a report that there's change in the air for WWE Raw. Although it's more in the cosmetic sense than the creative. A report on Monday revealed the promotion is looking to change the intro song for the Red brand, which has used the track Greatness by Vo Williams for the past several years, and may do so this week, may change it this week. I don't think we heard it this week, though. But it looks like that won't be the only change. Fightful Select reports that there are other changes coming to music from Raw's production in regard to the music for match graphics, etc. Jimmy, I feel like this is kind of a much needed update for Raw. I feel like the music has been around since, I feel like it's the same music since the pandemic era. I may be mistaken there, but I feel like this is old music. Are you excited for a change potentially to the music of Raw?
I don't know if I'll call it excited, but I was kind of wondering, when are they going to adapt? Because all those years, again, you mentioned being there all those years, I've been through all this different stages, the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, all that sort of stuff. It changes. And I talked earlier about evolving and being different. You need to change your presentation up in little ways to keep your audience, instead of that, oh, here we go, same old thing. Well, one of the things I'm going to talk about tonight when we get to it is doing something over and over again, and people get tired of it. And get the wrong. Oh, I know everybody has their favorite entrance music to Raw from back in the day. I was thinking about it today. I said, what was my favorite? I said, didn't matter. I was just happy I was on the show.
Jimmy, I think everyone here would love for you to try your best to sing your favorite Raw theme over the years.
No, it ain't happening. No karaoke tonight.
I feel like when it comes to these intro themes, I couldn't tell you a single word of any of them, but I feel like I know them all at the same time. It's a weird thing, but it feels like, Justin, what are your thoughts? It's time for a fresh coat of paint on Raw.
And you're the DJ here. You're supposed to know the words. I refused to react, discuss, or opine anything with WWE in-house music until the great Jim Johnston is either brought back to work or acknowledged and put in the Hall of Fame. They did him dirty years ago. Vince did him dirty.
They do absolutely need to put him in the Hall of Fame, 100%. I absolutely agree. But I will say, I call it themes like da 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 da. I don't know what he's saying on any of that, but I know it. I can see the video in my head, but I
move to the music, play the music, move to the music. Yeah, I'm really surprised. Triple H has been in charge now of creative for how long now? I cannot believe we don't have a Motorhead track for Raw or SmackDown.
That is true.
Good call.
Well, that might be changing
There's
soon.
still time. There's still time.
Oh, yes.
Demon Diva, NYC Demon Diva in the chat saying, it feels like greatness is that's this one. I know that one because they've had it for a long time. But in any case, let's talk about this week's event, this week's Raw. Before we do, as always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit us with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts while you're around. That is always appreciated. If you're in the chat, thanks so much. Ethan Cruz, Stephen Camp, Beer Money, Adam Staples, MDB999, Tori, KOD, Baby I, Spit Milligan, and like I said, of course, NYC Demon Diva. If you're lurking, shout out to the lurkers. Always good to see you there as well. Well, I guess I don't see you. You're lurking. That's the point. But it's
just
good
a lurking.
So we start off this week. Drew McIntyre says that he's earned the right to talk, unlike Dominic Mysterio. Says he's never lied and is the same person he's always been. And he compares his actions to Cody's on SmackDown and shows us how hypocritical we all are. Drew clarifies he's not joining the Judgment Day, just their War Games team, because he wants a chance to get Jey Uso in the ring, or in a cage, I should say. Eventually, Jey Uso comes out. Then the Judgment Day comes out. Then Team Good Guys come out. Adam Pearce gets in the way. He brings Law to the ring, and he says that we need to have the advantage match tonight, and we need to know who team member number 5 is tonight. And that is how we kick things off. Justin, I thought this was an absolute pitch perfect way to start a go-home show to War Games. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, they efficiently accomplished a lot of business. Naturally, you start the show with Drew McIntyre because we last ended Raw with Drew in his heel turn, so you want to hear from the man. I mean, this is the case with a lot of guys, but I mean, it's definitely emboldened with him. He is such a good heel, maybe a better heel than he is babyface. Just the look that he can provide and his voice and everything that what he was saying to the crowd. But yeah, you get reaction from Drew. We need to get the advantage decided, as you said. We need also this babyface team needs another member. So like we address all of it. Reasons to tune in. Here's how we're going to solve it. We're going to have an advantage match. You better tell us who your 5th person is before the other night. So I thought it was great. It set everything up, like you said, for a go-home show that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, Jimmy, what I loved about Drew McIntyre here is most of the time the turn, we always make fun of the you people comment. The you people turned on me. You did this. But I like how Drew McIntyre kind of flipped and just said, look, I haven't changed. I'm the same Drew McIntyre I've always been. I've been saying I'm going to do this. And look, Cody Rhodes isn't getting over it either. Why do you love him? I liked it.
Right.
He didn't tell us, he showed us.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And I love the opening too. Obviously the video package that opened the show, we got the intro, and you go to it's almost like a cold open after all that, with Drew standing in the ring instead of getting that entrance and the fans booing right away. And and like you said, what he said was it wasn't personal against anybody else except for Jay. He almost referred to, or did he refer to Cody as collateral damage?
He did.
I think he did actually say that in the promo. So he's specifying that, like you said, he hasn't joined Judgment Day. He's just on their team to get back at Jay and get Jay inside the cage. And I like that they've set up what was to happen later in the show, and also leave you in suspense thinking, okay, they have to announce a fifth member. Thank you to Adam Pearce, general manager, who had a heck of a night tonight. Let's put it that way. And it made you want to find out who that fifth member was going to be. So they accomplished their goals, I think, in making people interested in sticking around. At least I think.
Yeah, and Justin, I want to go back to you. What I love about this too is by saying that we need to find out tonight. I love that they kind of put a bow on it. They said, "Look, you're gonna find out tonight." So there was no, "I hope we find out." Will we find out? I don't know. I knew I have to tune in. I'm gonna find out sometime in the next 3 hours.
Yeah, it was it was the equivalent of the old-fashioned limousine pulling up, and we wait all night to find out who's in the limousine. We didn't need to have a limousine. It just needed to be. There's a fifth roster spot that's got to be filled. You're going to find out tonight. So yeah, you're right. It's just it gives you a reason to tune in more so than just the match. You know that there's going to be some reveal. Now I will say, and we'll get to it, I thought the reveal was a little bit less than I was expecting, but I guess they really want to stretch this pop out.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Speaking of pops, we got a big match right after this one. Nia Jax versus Raquel Rodriguez. The story is Raquel can't lift Nia Jax, and it ends up costing Raquel, who gets annihilated. Apparently, that's the name of the bonsai drop that Nia Jax is using. Jax with a clean win. Justin, I was at AEW Full Gear this weekend. It was an amazing show. Had a great time. But I definitely understand in person the idea of having too many matches on a show sometimes. But as I was watching this matchup, the reason I bring this up is I feel like this feels like a premium live event, and they're just giving us this matchup. Do you think it was the right call to, it's not really a pay-per-view anymore, but give it away for free, or should they have saved this one for Survivor Series?
No, I don't think they should have saved it for Survivor Series. I don't disagree that this could have been on a PLE and what have you, but specifically to Survivor Series, we've heard Triple H say in these press conferences, he doesn't want these things to go on forever, and these shows already going along as is. Each War Games match is going to occupy the better part of an hour, so you have two of them. So I think it's wise to kind of keep that a very trim and lean Survivor Series card. So I'm fine with putting it out there. I mean, there's a few other matches tonight on Raw. You could have made a case that could be, PLE or pay-per-view quality worth. No, I thought this was a good match. These two could certainly have a match again in the future, and you can do a lot building off the can Raquel, can she slam Nia Jax? Can she lift her? What have you? There's more to be done. I thought that they had the crowd. I thought this match for what it was, for what both of these ladies' abilities are, I thought that they did a really. This started what ended up being such a female-heavy episode of Raw tonight. I think I gotta give the shout to Fightful. I think it was their Twitter account that was keeping track based upon all the women that we saw, not necessarily just wrestling, but that were on commentary, that were backstage, that appeared to the crowd. Like 27 female talents were featured on screen tonight.
Wow.
Between the matches and between the segments. So I thought this set the tone for what was a very successful night for the women performers in WWE.
Yeah, that is a great stat. But Jimmy, any thoughts on this one? I do think that you definitely have a rematch baked in there right away with a Raquel eventually getting her able to lift Nia Jax. But this was a slugfest. What did you think of it?
I thought it was a heck of a match. The ladies really put out there. They worked really hard. At first, you could tell that the audience was a little bit skeptical on what they were going to get, and they got the audience. They got them involved into it very much. And as I like to say on here a lot, the audience is who tells you whether it's working or not. And that match was working big time. And they told a heck of a story. It was two strong ladies. Can Raquel get her up for that, for the slam, for this? And it ended up costing her in the end. And now the story going forward is, especially if they're going to do a rematch, Nia could brag that, see, you don't have it in you. You can't do it. And yes, I can, and go on from there. So I think they did two things in this. Yes, we talked about how many times getting over without going over. I think Raquel did a heck of a job of showing that she's got it. Now we're just going to see if she could do it later on in a rematch.
Yeah, Jack, I'll make this claim. I'll say that in the history of the company, and I'm including the WWF, the WWF, in the history of this company, there has never been a deeper, active women's division as it pertains to storylines. It is not just fighting off of just the women's title. There is more going on just below that of just women having issues and settling them, dynamics. Like they have never been this deep with quality, consistent booking and storytelling of feuds and women in the history of this company. That's 70 plus years. That's an accomplishment for them.
Oh, and I agree. And I would say so many of them right now, if they were to challenge for the title, I would say I buy it 100. If you said Nia Jax's challenge, I'd say I buy that. Raquel just lost, so it's a little weird to say it, but I'd buy Raquel challenging. I'd buy so many of these people. Zoe, I think, is getting there. I think Shayna Baszler's right there. I think there's so many people that could just challenge tomorrow, and I'd say, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm just talking about Raw. I'm not even talking about the other brands. It's crazy.
And that's the beauty of it, because like you said, you can believe that certain individuals can win in any match, as opposed to going into the match thinking, I don't see so and so winning, and I don't see. And that seems to happen a lot lately, especially with the audience, and you can see it and hear it, or not hear it, at least on TV.
Yeah, we have a super chat from Maya Lee saying, I'm so proud of all the women tonight. They really delivered. I'm loving Piper right now. Her with Chelsea. So much better than when she was with Eva. I think what I love about the Piper Chelsea pairing is it wasn't their first choice, but they found a way to make it feel like it was their first choice.
And it's working. That's the main thing. It's working. The two contrasting personalities. It works. Let's just put it.
Yeah. Finally, we're not taking a proverbial dewdrop on the women's division, the booking.
Dewdrop. That song slapped, though. I don't care.
Jim Johnston does not approve.
And going back to what the comment that Justin made earlier about the amount of women in the stories, and I agree with him totally. This is coming from a guy who was honored to have refereed the very first Survivor Series in Cleveland with the ladies match. And there were 5 tag teams on each side. There were so many wonderful women back in those days. But this roster is just like stacked. And like you said, Justin, with stories.
Yes. What year was your first Survivor Series?
First Survivor, what was it?
Or you did the very first one of the event?
The very first one.
So 87.
Yes, 87. Okay. Yeah, I remember driving down to Cleveland, having my car break down. But anyways, not down, coming home. Yeah, but that's another story. Those old K cars were. Yeah.
Well, we move on. We have a couple of backstage segments. Judgment Day first. Priest is upset that Drew was added to the team without his say, and now he wants to be in the advantage match. But Rhea says, hold off until Drew gets here. And when Drew does, he shows up and says he wants to be in the advantage match. And Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest get along famously. They end up deciding that Drew will take the advantage match. On the good guys' side, they say it'll be Jey Uso in the advantage match, and that Cody Rhodes has an old friend he can call. Justin, when Cody said that he has an old friend he could call, before we knew who it was, it clearly had to be a huge name, right? Because I was thinking about it. If it wasn't the two people everyone was predicting was Randy Orton or CM Punk, and I was thinking, if it's not one of them, all due respect to KO or who else, it's just going to feel like a letdown with the way they built this up, right?
Well, I'll give you one other name that I never thought of until I saw somebody on Twitter tonight or X, whatever, posted as like a trolling. Like, obviously, it's not this person because we all think we know, but would have made sense in the story. Who did Cody get a huge sign of respect from after their war in the ring earlier this year? Brock Lesnar. So I will say that when I saw that, I went, all right, I'm pretty sure it's not Brock. But that's actually a pretty cool, that's a pretty cool one to think out there. Because and quite frankly, is far more realistic and possible than CM Punk. Mm-hmm. So that but yeah, I mean, obviously Orton is the one that is in the forefront of mind. And real quick, because I know we'll get back to that later. I think it's interesting that we got Drew and Jay tonight, because that to me one more reason to confirm what I think we all want, which is after War Games this weekend, we're done with Judgment Day as we know it, and then these baby faces as we know it. Something's going to get blown up, whether Judgment Day gets blown up, whether Priest cashes in, whether there's more swerves and turns. They could have if they wanted to, because remember, there's 2 months after Survivor Series. There's 2 months until the next PLE, and that's Royal Rumble. So there's time. They could have dragged out Drew and Jay to make it a big main event for a future Raw, just to keep that story going. But the fact they gave it to us tonight tells me they're planning to let this be the big blow off that War Games should be. There should be no chapter after War Games with these current participants in their current place. So that was also just for me, yes, let's all get our blow offs out of the way here so we can move on after this War Games match.
Yeah, that was another one I thought was kind of surprised we got it this early. But to your point, Justin, I think it's a good call, because I think we're all ready to move on from it. Jimmy, I do want to talk to you a bit about the dysfunction in Judgment Day, whether it be between Priest and Rhea Ripley, whether it be Drew McIntyre coming involved. Something they talked about later on too. We'll just batch this in together. Neither team is without the cracks. Right. Both teams have their issues, and that's kind of a fun thing about War Games. It feels like we haven't seen it in the past few iterations.
I guess so, but lately it seems like all factions are having issues, and that's making it not unique. And maybe it's unique for the War Games match itself. You got me thinking now. I'm trying to think. Was there a team that went into War Games that wasn't on the same page, where everyone wasn't on the same page, technically speaking? Right now, of course, Drew McIntyre was saying to Damian Priest, yes, we can work together and be on the same page, but still there's that friction there. And what about with JD McDonough? Has that been put to the side as well? Because we're focusing on the Drew Damian Priest as opposed to JD and Damian Priest. So there's still a lot of questions there. And even on the babyface side, there's still a little bit of tension there.
I should say, again, I mean, in recent years, obviously, if you go back, there's been tension with teams in the past. But I feel like in the previous years, it's been like the undisputed era, and they're good to go or whatever that has been together. So we move on, and we get to Becky Lynch versus Xia Li, and it is a bangers and mash of a match with Becky Lynch getting the win. Post-match, Damage Control shows up to attack Becky Lynch, but Team Good Gals show up and fight them off. Jimmy, I want to talk to you about Becky Lynch, because Becky Lynch is a star. WrestleMania main eventer, cover of the video game, one of the biggest stars in WWE. But I think I've enjoyed her more the past few months working with NXT and people like Xia Li than I've enjoyed her in a very long time. I can imagine there's a lot of people saying, look, she's a star. She should be in the world title picture. But I think she's doing great right here. Am I crazy?
No, you're not, because what she's doing now is she's elevating the other gals. And that's exactly what she's doing with Xia Li. They have this this, I hate to use the word chemistry, but hey, you know, when they're in the ring together, they perform, and this match was awesome, and it was like the second good women's match in the first hour. To Justin's point about the women being featured tonight, man, what a feature this match was! They all excelled, and what Becky is doing, as you said, by going down to NXT and then, you know, having those matches down there and coming back up to the quote unquote main roster and doing the same thing. She's elevating the women's division because she is just that good and that big a star right now.
Yeah. Justin, like I said, I love this one. I love the match. I think Xia Li looked great. My one, if I want to pick nits, you know, nitpick things a little bit, I felt like the whole thing that happened after the match, which was great, kind of made me forget about all the great stuff Xia Li had just done. Am I overlooking into this, or is there a point there?
No, it's fair. That's something that, excuse me. That's something that myself or Jimmy, I think, would point out on Wednesday nights that we see, happen. Whereas it's like you try to do a good thing for somebody, but then you do a lot more. I don't. Maybe there's a way that they could have tried to, even if it was like have the match end. Maybe build in a commercial. I don't know. But I agree. There was a lot that goes on. And, you know, by the nature of War Games, because you have so many participants, you're trying to keep score of everybody. That it makes it even harder to follow. But, of course, you want to build that War Games match. You want to, so I do think there could have been something there. My positive here is, obviously, Becky, she was the dance. She led the dance. She certainly helped Xia Li. But Xia Li is still Xia Li. She is still out there, and I think that this was a match that was a statement match that she belongs on Raw. She can hang with and work with one of the best that WWE has. I'm a big fan of Xia Li. My nitpick would be this, and we saw this promo commercial air prior to this match, and then we saw it again later after this match. Is that, and it's really kind of problematic when it airs after this match, is that then, Xia Li, hard fought match against Becky. She loses. Okay. Still got over without going over. But then later we get this promo again of like Xia Li, she's challenging for the NXT women's title, but they refer to her as the unstoppable Xia Li. And it's like, well, no, she's stoppable. I just saw her get beat. So that, I will say, it is an interesting choice to have her in this big marquee match against Becky Lynch and had this week's promotion going into it. She loses. She lost valiantly, but she lost. But then you're trying to sell me on that she's unstoppable and she's coming for this NXT World Title tomorrow night. I think Sean and Hunter probably should have had this. Probably should have been a different. Jimmy and I said, Monday morning quarterback. Well, hindsight's 2020, but there probably should have been a different path to this. I think.
Very fair.
Jimmy, speaking of that, if Xia Li gets the win tomorrow, does that kind of erase this loss in some ways? And if she loses, does taking 2 back-to-back big losses hurt her that bad, or is she already kind of established herself?
Well, she hasn't quite established herself yet. She's getting there, but hasn't gotten there. So another loss tomorrow night, it all depends on how it's done. It's a tough situation to be in. Like Justin said, maybe there should have been a little more thought put into this, having her on tonight and having her lose the match. Again, valiant effort, but at the same time, an L. And 2 L's in a row, 2 nights in a row, may not be a good thing for her at this time.
So speaking of taking losses, Kaiser and Vinci, they're button heads. Things aren't going well because there's only room for one in the doghouse. And so Ludwig Kaiser has a match with Johnny Gargano. It ends when Vinci comes out to help, and it doesn't work out. So Kaiser loses, and later Gunther says maybe he put the wrong guy in charge. Justin, I want to talk to you about this one. I feel like this was the best. The crowd was up for Gargano in this one more than they have been in weeks past.
Yeah, it was where were they? Grand Rapids tonight. It was a pretty good crowd overall. I thought it was one of the better reactions for Gargano. I mean, Gargano is from Cleveland. He came up and toured the Ohio, Michigan loop a lot. So I think there probably were a few extra people that organically know Johnny Gargano prior to his WWE time. That's always a helping hand. But yeah, this was a significant win for him because I think we've said he hasn't had a lot of wins, and this was kind of a good one for him against Kaiser, who's been forefront of Raw. I gotta say, I know we'll talk about Gunther here in a few minutes, but I'm kind of wondering what are we doing here? Like Kaiser is such the comical but yet credible, international heel, right? He's a guy they can chant USA at, and he sticks his nose up, and he's whatever. But part of me kind of feels like we're like slow playing the start of like, are we like going to turn him like babyface in a weird way, and he's going to be the one who's going to get ostracized from Imperium, and then could he be the one that tries to challenge his ring general for that title? Like that's the little feeling I got tonight of like, oh, was this the first seed of this really truly starting to get watered, that's where we're going?
Yeah,
I think that's an interesting take, Jimmy. What say you?
That is an interesting take. I didn't think of it that way. I just see, unfortunately for me, it's just another group that is having internal trouble. You see, if it wasn't happening with so many other groups, maybe I would feel the same way as Justin, or at least accept it a little bit more. To me, it just feels like here's another group that's just having, coexistent issues at this time. And to the point about getting over without going over, but that is true. But eventually, you have to go over as well, and that's what happened. That's what helped big time for Johnny Gargano tonight.
Who helped Kane and Daniel Bryan back in the day? They need Dr. Shelby. All the groups need Dr. Shelby.
Dr. Shelby, yes.
Dr. Shelby, always welcome. I will say, I don't think we're done with Imperium for a little bit here, because they got those new jackets now. So they gotta sell that merch for a little bit. Those jackets didn't look cheap. So if they got some of those in a warehouse, they're gonna make sure those get sold before they break this team up, I think. I guess. Yeah.
I'm still waiting to get my Rivera jacket, but anyway.
You don't have a Rivera jacket?
I never got one. No.
I don't mean to sound this insulting, Jimmy. I love you, and I love all your brothers in stripes. Is it common that the refs that obviously have worked to a certain stature and time, is it common that a ref can get a jacket, or like, I don't know, like,
well, the ones that have been there, I haven't had the pleasure of going, because I'm always the guy setting up or tearing down.
Oh,
so I was, unfortunately never blessed to have a Rivera steak.
Oh, that's screwed up, man. You deserve your Rivera steak.
Thank you.
Well, you have a jacket in spirit, I say.
I have a Steamboat's Mid-Atlantic gym jacket that looks like a Rivera. But anyways, that's.
You probably got a bunch of cool merch there. If you ever have a garage sale, Jimmy, you're gonna get a lot of people showing up.
You've racked up. All right. Well, so you don't have a Rivera jacket. You never got to go and have the Rivera steak. I'm sure you got to go to Connecticut and rack up a pretty good tab at Calhoun's, right?
What? Oh my goodness! Never mind. I don't even start.
Things you can't talk about.
Kayfabe, brother.
So Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark run into each other in the Judgment Day hangout spot. Zoe kind of talks some trash and makes fun of all the decorations that are up, and Rhea Ripley says she's going to get hers at Survivor Series. Not a whole lot here, Jimmy, but what were your thoughts? I guess Zoe Stark is the one that I think is really we're trying to get to stand out here. Do you think she did a good job walking into the dungeon of Judgment Day?
I was okay with it, because it made her look like she's really invested in winning this title from Rhea Ripley, and even telling her that she's walking away with the title, which is very interesting, because usually when they do, when baby faces do it, I guess she's the baby face in this one, since Rhea. See, it's hard to tell. And it's one of those situations where, who do I want to get? Do I want to see Rhea finally lose that title? But do I want to see her lose it to Zoe?
Jimmy, I promise you, and I'll text you. We'll text Saturday night. I promise you that come Survivor Series in Chicago, that crowd is going to be full-fledged behind Rhea.
Yeah.
From the reaction standpoint, she's going to have to be the babyface of the match.
Yeah, but I don't disagree with that. You know, I don't want to sound like someone else here, but they are a very smart crowd in Chicago, maybe to a not in a good way. Let's put it that way.
But Rhea's over. She's in that weird. She's in that she's in a rarefied air. You don't often get in that space where the office is legitimately pushing you. The crowd is not resisting that. Oh, you're shoving it down the throat. Like the crowd is embracing, but it's like she's so unique and so good. They kind of like, all right, I know we're supposed to boo her, but I kind of want to cheer mommy and I'll boo Dom. And I feel bad for Zoe actually. Zoe's gonna have an uphill climb Saturday.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I think someone like Rhea, you get to a point where you're so good that there's too much respect, I think, to boo you. Kind of like Randy Orton can do the most vile things now and we'll still cheer him, you know, just because he's so good. I think that Rhea Ripley kind of, I'm not comparing her to Randy Orton, but like I think she's kind of getting there where like she's so good. I can't boo her. She's too good at what she does.
She's in she kind of is. This is a cliche statement and a great movie title. She's in a league of their own. But that's pretty true because every time we run into these things where she has got a big match, what do I say to you guys? I don't believe that person's going to beat Rhea Ripley. I mean, it was cool that Zoe like had the audacity to go into the Judgment Day dungeon, which, by the way, talking about merchandise, that's a great merchandising ploy. I mean, they got all the merch everywhere, you know, so great. I got a merch sales there with, as you're talking about, Imperium jackets.
Right.
So it's nice that, you know, like she had the audacity to go into Rhea's Batcave, but like, I still don't believe she's going to beat Rhea Ripley, and I don't know who I'm going to believe.
I don't want to. Sorry to interrupt you there, Jack. I just don't want it to be them liking Rhea, going, man, she's great as a heel. I want you know if they're liking this, then that should start flipping some switches in people's heads, going, maybe there's a time where we can turn her babyface, almost like in a female Stone Cold kind of way, and you know, and take off with this.
But you know what's tough about that, Jimmy? I agree with the whole philosophy of what you're going at. Like, don't change much of her. Let her still pretty much be what she is, but just again somehow try to flip it to where she's on the babyface side of the fence, going against heels. What I think's tough about that is that she's surrounded. She's the Priest is the leader right now, as we're saying, but perception is we all believe that she's the leader, right? Which is cool. Also, that we have a female that is the leader of this male-dominated faction. But WWE doesn't, and I'm not suggesting that they should. WWE does not do intergender anymore. They don't. There is no male physically doing anything to a female, so it's almost a little tricky to have her be able to make that Stone Cold kind of switch when you can't get it's harder to get sympathy on her. It's not like you can't have the guys physically do something to her because that's not necessarily in the taste that we want. You know what I mean? Like you can't have Priest slap her, and you know what I mean. So it's almost hard to get that sympathy on it to make it all make sense. I think that's a really weird predicament that they might be in.
Yeah, I have a feeling Judgment Day will just explode before something like that happens. But Baby Ice saying, I support cheering heels. I got bad news for you, Baby Ice. If you're cheering them, they're not a heel.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like, I know you can talk about what they're doing. It doesn't matter. If you're cheering for them, they're not a heel.
If you dislike Baron Corbin, I don't care if you're going to write me a freaking college essay on all the reasons why he's turned off the TV and he did this and that. If you dislike Baron Corbin, he's a really good heel. And I can say that about several others. You can't outsmart logic. If you don't like them, you don't like them. They're doing the job. Stop trying to outsmart this thing.
Yeah, yep. just to give you a little thing really quickly here. When I used to attend all the Maple Leaf Garden shows, there was a group of guys. There, a small group of guys. They used to cheer all the heels only because they thought it was fun for them to do. That's how they amuse themselves, by cheering all the heels and booing all the baby faces.
Well, if you're cheering like I said, if you cheer them, they're your face. If you boo them, they're your heel. It doesn't matter what they're doing on TV. It doesn't matter how they're portrayed. If you like them, they're a face. That's it.
Nia Jax is a great heel for all these reasons. There are people that will try to tell you why, and it's like, no, you're just talking yourself into a shoot here. She's good at her job.
Yep.
Right.
That's why they brought her back.
As we move on to, we got some tag team turmoil. Chelsea and Piper are upset they have to share a locker room with everyone else, and so everyone else shows up and they want a tag team title shot. So we get a 4-way with Natty and Tegan, Kaden and Katana, Indy and Candice, and Maxine and Ivy. Every team gets their moments, but really it was Chelsea Green who stole the show on commentary. Natty and Tegan get the win, and next week we're gonna let the fellas do the same thing. Justin, I get Natty and Tegan. I think it's gonna be a great tag team. I think it's a great tag team here. I felt like, though, as I was watching this, it felt like Maxine and Ivy were really stealing the show in the ring a lot. Maybe that was just what I was taking away. Did the right team win?
I think so. Natty has such. I mean, she's the longest tenured there, and WWE's been one to push. Tegan said she's come back. I mean, I think all the teams had some high spots. This was kind of like that chicken or the egg kind of thing, where it's like you watch this match. All the entrances happened, I think, on commercial, if I recall right. So we did not get to hear the crowd reacting to the entrances. Not all of these teams or ladies are on every week or on them or get a lot of time or the most prominence. But at the same time, the only way to get the audience eventually invested is you have to put them out there for the audience to absorb. So it's kind of, again, it's what comes first, chicken or egg. It's like the crowd was kind of dead at some points in this match, and all these ladies tried to have some creative high spots, and there were some creative ones that I don't, you don't see often. So they're trying. So this was tough. I thought this was like. It was also interesting talking about counter programming and such. This match was going on right as the Monday Night Football game is going to halftime. So I'm thinking, all right, well, if there's a chance that people might start scrolling through their guide, these ladies have a little bit of an opportunity here to try to, I don't know. It was what it was, but I do think the right team won. But again, going back to what I said earlier with that stat, this was, we are putting time and effort towards, we're going to establish these women and their characters. We're going to give them time, and you're going to start to get to know them. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Jimmy, like I said, I feel like Chelsea Green was awesome on commentary. She just gets it. Piper as well. But I said just a second ago, Maxine and Ivy, Justin saying the right team won. I think, does this not mean that the tag team, that they did the right thing because we're split on how this could have turned out?
I guess you can make that point, but of the 4 teams, those are the 2 that I would have guessed or at least anticipated winning this opportunity and winning the match and winning this opportunity. The only thing is, though, in this type of match, at times I felt it got very clustered. You talk about, how many times have I talked about 20 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound bag? They did some great stuff, but there was just at times it felt like too much going on for the crowd to get behind. And you talk about not remembering certain moments. Because of that, you forgot certain things that happened in this match, and all you do remember is who won. And did the right team win the match? You can make an argument that one of the right teams won the match. Let's put it that way. and it's again, here is a team. Tegan Knox is someone they want to elevate. Natty is someone who elevates people. Now, obviously, her association with Tegan elevates her, and a big win by Chelsea and Piper against someone. Let's say Natty's the one who suffers the loss for her team in this one. Again, more about elevating other talent, and Natty is just great at that.
So I was going to say this real quick. My whole thing is about who's going to challenge Rhea. Who do I believe? I don't think Natty's ever really got this in earnest. And maybe if she did, it was probably during the Divas time or during a lesser credible time for the women's division. If they did one of the beautiful vignettes and stories and many things they could do on Natty, and obviously all the history she has with this business and her family, if they did that, and like Natty was like, "Look, I got fewer years left. I'm on the back end of this run. but I still have not got to do what I want to do. If we set up like Natty wanted to have some kind of like family redemption resume kind of run, and if they built it properly, and a lot of it can be done through production, which WWE is the Scorseses of I could probably believe if you built that up, I could probably believe her versus Rhea that Natty's gonna do this, and Natty and and bring Brett into the fold, whatever. I feel like Natty's been around. She's been such a good soldier, but she has never got her just due.
They, especially with the team they have making videos at WWE, they could make a Natty video that would be incredible. I'm sure. Like, it's just because, especially if you go back to when she first started, like the people she was in the ring with, and how you'd realize, like, I think that would really emphasize how long she's been doing this. You're like, oh wow, she was in the ring with her. That's right. She's been here forever.
She went through Bra and Panties. She went through Total Divas. She went like, if you started if you started the Monday after Survivor, if you start next Monday, you started next Monday that they lost the tag team and she's going to go singles again, and you really truly built this thing, you could build her to Mania, and I probably make me believe she wins the Rumble, probably make me believe that she's going to Mania and that she's challenging Rhea Ripley and make it a big deal. And that's probably the most believable that I've had in Rhea's run of like, oh, Rhea's in trouble.
Yeah, I do want to say I saw a comment about Caden Carter and Katana Chance. I think by Adam Staples here. I think that they're a team I'd like to see do well too. I need to see them get some dubs though. I know the team I mentioned just got paired together, but that's why I thought they're doing stuff. So I thought that might have some momentum. Caden Carter and Katana Chance had that awesome move off the turnbuckle though, where like they do the hand, like one of them does the handstand on the other one, and they spin and splash onto the two. That's a finisher right there. They need to start winning matches with that. That's so cool. As we move forward to Miz and Gunther had a stare down, and it wasn't Miz TV. It was actually just a promo. Miz says WWE is built on respect, and Gunther says that he has no respect for Miz. Miz says he's an entertainer like all the great Intercontinental champions, and Miz will do anything to win. Gunther calls Miz a little weirdo, and then Gunther bullies Miz until Miz uses a low blow to get the upper hand and leave Gunther laying. Jimmy, I tweeted this, but Gunther line of the night for me, and it was this one line did so much. It sounded like a throwaway line, but it did so much. He said, referring to the fans, Gunther says, all the other weirdos who are just like you. Because it's so hard. I feel like if Miz said, I'm just like all of you, we'd say, no, you're not. You're the Miz. You spent a decade telling us how you're better than us. But when Gunther said it, it did. Yeah, he's like us. We're together. Like Gunther paved the way for the Miz here.
I get exactly what you're saying, but I just didn't appreciate the word. Not appreciate it. I didn't think the word weirdo was the right one. It sounded just so. Maybe it fits with the Gunther character, and it just went zip over my head. But if he'd have called, the audience wannabes, like Miz was a wannabe, that maybe that would have worked differently. I don't know. It just felt weird hearing weirdos. It was kind of like, again, I don't want to sound like I'm Captain Cool or anything like that because I know the new terminology, but there's got to be a different word than weirdo.
I think you disqualified yourself from Captain Cool when you used the phrase Captain Cool.
As my daughter would say, as I hear her talking to her friends, Gunther would say that Miz is sus.
We're hitting the demo, Justin.
That's a for real. Let the chat. Somebody in the chat room certainly has got to be a dad with kids my ages. It's sus.
Sus.
You're sus, bro.
I started something here. Oh no.
Jimmy's Captain Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna start calling you that from now on. I think it's gonna stick better than corduroy. But Justin, your thoughts on this segment? And how do you feel it did building us up to Survivor Series?
I mean, verbiage aside, and I think Jimmy's got a point. Verbiage aside, though, to that on that particular one, I thought one of the things you said, first thing, the key is that it wasn't a Miz TV. Miz TV is kind of, that is subconsciously to us that it's Miz as a heel, it's Miz as a goofball, it's Miz as the guy you want to see get his ass kicked. So I'm glad it was not a Miz TV. I think that's a subtle thing that goes a long way. I'm glad you mentioned that, Jack. I was against Miz having this babyface turn. I said you're taking his fastball away from him, but he's making it work. He's doing his role. Again, probably all the more reason of just why this guy is, so great, and he is a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, as Gunther acknowledges. Gunther on the mic, though, verbiage aside of weirdos and whatever, Gunther killed it. In high school, Mike, you were getting bullied. You looked up to all these wrestlers. And then you went and become a wrestler, and the same guys you looked up to, they bullied you too because you don't belong. Like, it was like, holy hell. Like, way to just shoot a man's life down. And then the crowd starts chanting USA. I can't remember last time I heard that. And he just dismisses that like, oh, you morons, I'll chant your 3 letters as if that's going to debilitate me. Like, Gunther, for a guy who, again, like I said, when he started in NXT, he was always a great wrestler. When he was Walter, he was always a great wrestler. He was not yet adapt to the WWE style, and we've heard that tossed around. I can tell you a few examples with him. He was not as comfortable as you want him to be with time cues, with camera cues. The cameraman, or sometimes in addition to the cameraman, there's a stagehand who's giving you time, who's counting you down, or is telling you where to look, or hey, we're coming out of replay. Look here. He was not comfortable with that stuff. For as dominant of a monster as he could be in the ring, you could watch him, and he had quarterback rookie eyes dashing that he was trying to follow what was going on. He has come such a long way, and of course, he's in the history books now with this IC title run. He's come such a long way. It's quite a story, and this IC title, I think, again, there's 2 months now between Survivor Series and Rumble. I think they should build a Raw around a Gunther main event against whoever that somebody's going to be, and have him lose it. I think he needs to lose it. You need to build a Raw around it. It's got the equity, and then go into Rumble. He's aiming for a world title, and as I've said many times, and I reiterate it again, he's got world title aspirations on the mind until he runs into a beast. And that's your Mania match for Gunther.
That'll be a good Mania main event. Or main match. I mean, it could be main event, I guess. But yeah, I thought this was a great promo from both guys. I've never seen someone shoot down the USA chant quite like that in a brilliant way. I can't remember how he said it. He was like, that's like the weakest way to self-identify or something like that.
But how smart is that? I mean, for the last 50 years, we've heard USA chants at the Iron Sheik, at Sergeant Slaughter when he defects, at Muhammad Hassan, at Yokozuna. Let's just pick every foreign heel we can, and it's like USA, like the sound of USA chants is piercing their ears, and they're in pain and they're agitated. He's there, cool, calm, and collective, looking like a diehard master villain, and in his suit, and just looks around going, that's the best you got, is to chant me your country's initials.
So good.
And really quickly, on the other side, from the Miz side, his promo tonight was so good, he had me believing what he was saying. Mm-hmm. That's how good he was.
Both guys, incredible. Yeah. I want to talk about 2 other guys with some promo time. Ivar, Valhalla, and Bronson Reed. So they did some pre-tapes. Ivar challenges Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed accepts. Justin, we talked about Ivar's promos last week. Did this do it for you? Was this a good move?
Yeah, shout out to Ivar for adding a little bit more bass in his voice this week.
Yeah,
and for Valhalla doing a little bit more of the talking. Yeah, it was short. It was sweet. I don't even think it was 30 seconds. Maybe it was 20. Yeah, this is better. Yeah. But I do feel actually like we're kind of moving in the direction of, like, again, then because we hear Bronson Reed, big Bronson Reed. I kind of feel like we're moving in the direction of, like, maybe like Ivar and Valhalla, maybe they are going to position them more as baby faces. I kind of felt that way.
Yeah. Jimmy, how about you? Did either of these guys do it for you this week?
Nah, the questioning is, who do I want to see win? Who, if I'm a fan, who am I going to cheer for? Who do I want to see get their butt kicked? I'm still undecided, and that's the problem here. I'm undecided about it.
Yeah. We move on. We got Shinsuke versus Gable. It's a good one that comes down to the turnbuckle getting exposed. No one gets hit with it, but it was avoiding the turnbuckle that allows Nakamura to get the win. Jimmy, these guys are great wrestlers, had a great match, obviously. I feel like because they keep saying who is Shinsuke targeting, that this felt like it was just another day at the office for Shinsuke instead of a great battle.
No, I hear exactly what you're saying. He went through all of Alpha Academy now, and was it last week or the week before where he's saying, his next target will soon be revealed. Mm-hmm. When is it going to be revealed? Am I interested? I am. I'm kind of curious. I don't want to say interested. Interested is the wrong word. I'm more curious to see what next direction he goes in, as opposed to saying, oh, I can't wait to see who he targets next. That's the problem here. I'm not as excited as I guess I should be thinking, okay, who's Shinsuke going to take on next and who's he going to target? Instead, I'm going, wow, I'm curious. I'm interested. I'm just curious to see who he targets next.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Justin, do you agree?
I'm curious for the wrong reasons. I'm curious, like, I told somebody, don't eat at that restaurant. The food is shit. And now I'm sitting there staring at them, waiting for them to walk out the restaurant to watch them spit the food out or puke. That's where I'm at. I'm going to assume that they know who they're going to reveal as who is next. But I have a feeling like I'm just sitting there waiting to go, oh, you were wrong on that one. I don't, it was a good match. Alpha Academy's over. The whole, and your boy Tozawa and Maxie, like the whole visual of them all together. They're all doing the thank you with Chad. It all looks good. But God, Gable just feels like just so disposable. He loses another match here.
Mm-hmm.
What I just booked a second ago, or suggested to book a second ago with Gunther. They did that. They built a Raw around Gunther and Gable, and Gable had his damn family in the front row. They could have done it then. Gunther just seems, Gable just seems so kind of disposable. Like I'm starting to not believe that Gable's going to win any meaningful match, and I don't like that. I like to think that, New Year, everybody gets a second chance, that we have a chance to reset that booking there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with Shinsuke, I keep racking my brain of like, who are they setting up? What babyface are they setting up?
Yeah,
for him.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. I feel like anyone I can think of it being would just be the reaction of, oh, that's who it was. Right. It's not gonna be like oh, crazy, wow, it's Jey Uso.
Sorry, but that is my concern. Like I said, that's not the reaction you want.
Right.
Like you said, you want the reaction to go, oh, I can't wait to see those two go at it.
Unless they have a babyface coming up from NXT, that again, after Survivor Series, we kind of reset a little bit. Unless they have somebody coming from NXT, but I don't know who that. I don't know who that would be. That's just
yeah. And Gable, I'm with you on Gable. There was a time when I thought he'd be the guy to beat Gunther. Now I'm thinking, if he was to beat Gunther now without getting heated back up, I'd say that's kind of random.
Oh no, that window's shut. He can't beat Gunther now.
So we get to the main event. It's Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso with the advantage on the line. As you'd expect, Drew McIntyre gets the win with the Future Shock DDT instead of the Claymore. I wonder if that's a change now that he's on the dark side of the Force. He gets the win. Attack happens afterwards. Good guys come out to make the save. And Cody reveals that the fifth man is Akira Tozawa. No. Justin, I want to get your take on this. So bad guy gets the win here. I feel like that's pretty much paint by numbers, how you do this kind of situation. Talk to me about the reveal of the fifth man and how it went, because I think for everyone, it went differently than we expected.
Well, first off, there is a portion of our audience who just relies on us as their recap and resource and did not see Raw. So you just did a joke of it, Sakura Tozawa, but like tell the people who it actually is, please.
It's CM Punk. No,
Oh,
no, wow.
listen. They said Apex, right? Apex starts with A, alluding to AEW. He said voices, voice of the voiceless. Clearly, we know who he's talking about.
Stretch. All right. Good God.
Okay.
Jack Farmer's
It's Randy Orton. Orton.
He's turned heel. Yes, it's Randy Orton. First off, I mean, it's a great pick. I mean, Randy's been gone for 18 months or longer, so you certainly are getting a return back. There was no piped in chance here. This was natural. People excited. He's got history with Cody, so Cody's saying somebody I have a legacy with. That was the biggest pop of the night. Cody just saying somebody I have a legacy with. Everybody went, "Oh my God, that confirms it." It's right there.
Right.
No, look, I'm excited to see Randy. I thought interesting choice, but look, it felt a little robbed that we didn't get Randy to come out tonight. But I also can see some logic in like, well, how did Randy just get there?
Mm-hmm.
So I can see them drawing it out to maybe we are at Allstate Arena on Friday for SmackDown on FS1, and we basically have the same scenario. Heels are outnumbering the baby faces, and then let that music hit. Let us see Randy. Randy doesn't even have to physically even touch anybody. He can just come out, and just his presence alone can make the heels retreat. So I get the idea of trying to draw out and maximize this pop, stretch that pop, so to speak. And what's also great about it, Randy serves as the 5th babyface in the War Games match. What's going to happen at War Games is going to happen. Again, I think there's a lot of potential. Again, I stress Priest has that briefcase. So, and Seth Rollins is going to be in that space. So there's a lot of creative potential. But then when we get past Survivor Series, Randy Orton's a viper. He's a snake. What's to creatively say he doesn't just turn right around and turn on Cody Rhodes or you know, like, so there's just so much creative depth and juice there. They could go a lot of different directions. So this is exciting. I'm very excited to see what it is the three of us are talking about this time next Monday, because as we're looking forward to Randy being the 5th man on the babyface team, by this time next Monday, we could be talking about Randy Orton once again turning heel. So.
Jimmy, I agree with everything you just said, Justin. Jimmy, I got to ask you your thoughts on this, and your thoughts that they didn't actually even say his name, that they just alluded to who he was, didn't hear the music, didn't hear. They left us starving for Randy Orton, Jimmy.
No, and that's the beauty of it, so that when you do see him for that first time, you're going to get that huge pop. And if you'd have had him come out tonight, you would have wasted that return introduction pop on the go home show, which, yes, you want to get people invested in going to watching the PLE / pay-per-view everywhere else. But at the same time, that first time you see Randy Orton return is when you feel and you hear that biggest pop. And that's what we're waiting for. Now, Justin said maybe it's Friday night on SmackDown, and it very well could be. But if you do save it for the Saturday night and you don't physically see him on screen or even in the arena until his introduction music hits, you know, maybe that's a story going forward. Hey, he's on Friday night. Hey, where's your buddy there, Cody? And that sort of thing. And then even leading up to the pay-per-view on Saturday, Survivor Series on Saturday, the whole day, everybody's going, Cody, you said Randy was coming. Is he going to be here? Is he going to be here? Is he going to be here? Then the heels have the advantage. You've got the 5 heels in the ring. You've got the 4 baby faces in the ring. The heels have got the advantage. The music hits, and now you're wondering, is he or isn't he? And then he shows up, and all of a sudden, the place go banana.
And Jimmy, I agree with that, especially because SmackDown's being held in the same building as Survivor Series. So once you get that first time Randy back, hear the music, see him pop, you're not going to be able to fully duplicate it the next day. It might be still a good pop on Saturday, but you know, logic's going to say more than half, let's just say, of the people that are sitting in the seats for Friday Night SmackDown at the Allstate Arena, more than half of them are probably the same people that are sitting in the seats the next night for Survivor Series. So they've already blown their load of excitement, for lack of better phrasing, to Randy. So I agree. Play that up of Cody's like, he told me he's going to be here. When it comes time, he's going to be here. Where is he? And you're right. The heels or the faces are going to have the last person to enter, as they always do in War Games, as they should. I agree. I think holding it to Saturdays is the best scenario to do. I do agree with that.
I think even because they usually have the teams in the cage outside, like not the actual War Games cage, but they're like on the ramp cage, not even Randy Orton out there.
No,
you don't know. No. But this is kind of reminding me of one of the things that really sunk its teeth into me as far as a wrestling fan goes is going back to the old when the NWO was starting and what side is Sting on and that whole thing with War Games. Randy Orton being Randy Orton, and as you alluded to, everyone who's he going to hit with an RKO once he's in there? There is a little bit of that, is he actually on their side? Whose side is Randy Orton actually on? And so that makes it fun too. I'm just Randy Orton's one of my all-time favorites, so I'm just so glad he's coming back. But I think they know this is a big deal too because I don't think it's a coincidence that they're like, oh, we got a few extra seats available for sale or during the night as well. Oh, would you look at that? Suddenly there's more seats available to sell.
And also good on them. Don't go into Saturday in Chicago where there's a mystery partner.
Oh,
just put it out there. Again, back to Jimmy's point, we don't necessarily have to see said fifth partner until Saturday, but give us all the clues and tell us who it is or who it's not, so we don't have that situation.
Yeah, because let's say you do save the surprise for the actual event itself, the sense of disappointment being in Chicago. You may get a reverse reaction. Let's put it
right.
Well, I know for me, this has upped my excitement level for CM.
Stop it.
Survivor Series.
Jack.
So I'm super pumped about it, but I think that does it for this week's episode. Before we go, of course, thank you to everyone in the chat. But guys, Justin, we'll start with you. Overall thoughts on the show and where can we find you online?
No, pretty good show. 3 hours didn't drag. That's a compliment. Good go home show. Lot to cover. So I'm looking forward to Survivor Series. I'm looking forward to a lot of it. At Justin LaBar across the socials. This is the last you'll hear from me on Wrestling Inc. for this week. I will not be around. I was supposed to travel tomorrow. I've actually pushed my travel back because of the weather coming tomorrow. So have a great Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to both of you, even though Jimmy's Canadian, but we're still thankful. We're still thankful for Jimmy. And I'll be with you guys next Monday. I thought it was going to happen already. It's not, so I have to be kind of coy about this. It's 12:21 Tuesday morning. Some people listen to this later Tuesday. Go back to my social media at some point during Tuesday. Finally, the announcement that I've been wanting to give will be out. So, it does involve Survivor Series.
So everyone, make sure to follow at Justin LaBar for that. Jimmy, where can we find you, and what were your overall thoughts on the show?
I thought overall they did a pretty good job of getting me interested in wanting to see Survivor Series, and they furthered some storylines, and of course the big announcement at the end. As some people would say, "Wow, I was expecting it," but still a good announcement. Let's put it that way. As far as where you can find me, here on Monday nights with you guys. Wednesday, not sure who's going to be filling in for Mr. LaBar there, but maybe it will be you, Jack, and I'll have to wear my ref shirt then.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can catch me on the Roughing It Up podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, and RJ, who holds the glue together. This week, our guest will be none other than Chris Sabin, so it's going to be a fun one. And of course, on all my social media platforms, I have my Ref and Rants, which I do from Mondays to Fridays, and I give my little critiques out there and things. I nitpick a little bit at times, but not to tear down. Again, to help tighten screws that I think need tightening.
Always a good follow. That's at Jimmy Korderas. You can follow me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media to follow things I'm doing. Thank you to everyone who's in the chat and joined along with us. MDB, Adam Staples, appreciate you, buddy. I saw your chat earlier. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. Duca, Tutgraph, RBLX, and everyone else. Thank you. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe as well. That does it for the Monday after show, but we come back tomorrow for the NXT after show. Follow at Wrestling Inc. and stay up to date on all the news. That's what you do. We'll see you next time.